Now to a debate that could permanently change the way we vote here in Connecticut. Bills that would allow early voting and no excuse absentee ballots are up for discussion.
Well, during the pandemic, we saw record numbers of voters, and for the first time, everyone was able to cast an absentee ballot. Chief political reporter Susan Raff is live at the state capitol, where Democrats are pushing for this legislation. Susan?
We definitely saw some pretty big and important things in the November 2020 election. As you mentioned, a record turnout of voters here in Connecticut, unprecedented really, and also more people were able to use those no excuse absentee ballots. Democrats feel this should happen at every election. Republicans, however, feel there should be more safeguards.
My deepest thanks to all the people throughout the state who have advocated for these measures this year.
Connecticut's Secretary of the State has been leading the charge to give voters more access. Connecticut is one of only 6 states that doesn't allow early voting or no excuse absentee ballots.
Both of these measures will really help voters have more access and more ability to vote, which is their, part of their right as part of our country and our state.
During the pandemic, voters were allowed temporarily to use no excuse absentee ballots. Now there's a push to make these measures permanent, but it requires more than just the legislature. Voters must ultimately have the final say. In 2014, voters rejected early voting, but some feel the success of the 2020 election will change enough minds.
We want to have conversations about modernizing our voting structure, but we want to make sure the proper safeguards are there. And there's not a lot of interest in having that piece.
Despite a record turnout in the 2020 election, there was no evidence of fraud.
Has there been fraud in elections? Yes, there has. People have been arrested and prosecuted, but it is so rare. It is such an unlikely crime that we should enfranchise the 99.9999% of good actors in our state and not punish everybody for that.
At this point, neither of these resolutions have passed both chambers, so that continues to be ongoing. As for the House behind me, they are debating early voting. As for no excuse absentee ballots, that's expected to be debated next week. We're live at the state capitol in Hartford. Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.